Hi guys, Shamian here. I hope all is well. I am going to do a lasagna, an authentic lasagna demo for you all today. By authentic, I mean that I am not going to add any local seasonings to my lasagna whatsoever. It is never the way I make lasagna. Certain things I just prefer to stick with it authentic. But of course, we have lasagna here in Trinidad also. So you're all going to see how I do my stuff for my lasagna. You're going to need some high quality lasagna pasta, of course. The brand I'm using is Miller's. It's a good brand. I like it. Or you can look for a brand of your choice. Some of the brands call for not cooking before, but that is something I don't want to risk because I don't want cracker style lasagna. So I still pre-cook it just for a few minutes, right? So you will need one box depending on how much persons you have to feed or that you are going to feed or serve. I have the setup that you are seeing in the backdrop there is my setup for my meat, my minced beef. If you are, for some reason, whether religious or health choices, you don't eat beef, of course you can use ground turkey, you can use ground pork. The safest thing is always chicken because we have like almost everyone except for vegetarian and vegans eating chicken. Just ask at your supermarket to have it done. So that is just the setup. I'm going to show you all the step-by-step process and how it comes together, right? I'm going to show you how I do it. It's always excellent lasagna every time, right? I'm going to show you all the way it should be done. So I already have going uh, some water in a white pot. You guys see this pot a lot and there is a reason for that. This pot, it is a white pot, right? When you are doing, so it's able to fit certain things that I will be cooking very perfect without it looking like it's being squashed or crammed together. So the lasagna pasta being the length that it is the perfect pot. You don't ever want to break your lasagna pasta when you are doing lasagna. I don't even break my spaghetti when I am cooking spaghetti, right? So you want to keep that in order. You want to highly salt your water, but I always my prepping salt of choice, of course, is always coarse sea salt if I don't have kosher on hand. But please do not salt your pot before your contents reach in your pot, because what happens is you are going to have like cooking sea blast, salt water blast going on in your kitchen. It's going to just go onto everything and the flavor is really ridiculous, right? You don't ever want to put oil in your pastas either. I shared that some time ago. So this is how long the pasta is. Imagine putting it in a normal pot. What will happen, right? This is the length of your typical lasagna pasta, right? And like I said, I'm going to use all of it. You don't need oil. Once you salt your water properly, there is no need for oil. But always add the salt after the contents is in the pot for the sake of, it might look like plenty salt, but for the sake of the salt water splatter going everywhere and having your kitchen looking ridiculous, just put it in after. So this is the starter for the lasagna, right? Get a wide pot to boil your pastas in and always make sure there is sufficient water. And when you are boiling pasta of any type, any cut, because you know the pasta have different cuts, right? By cuts I mean shapes, right? As I said, don't ever boil it, and secondly, don't cover your pot because it is so starchy. You're going to have a lot of the starches releasing during boiling, and it's going to overspill if you cover the pot. So here is the starter for our lasagna. As I said, monitor it. Some brands don't call for pre-cooking, but I don't want to risk that. I don't ever risk that. So I always run it through. If even it's just for 4 minutes, I pass it through the water because of course we know it's going to finish cooking in the oven once it hits the oven. Right? The brand that I'm using, the Mueller's, they asked for it to be cooked for 10 to 12 minutes, right? And then we're going to drain. But I'm going to monitor it because lasagna is not something that is new to me. For some of you, it might be a first time. I hope the demo takes all the intimidation of you not cooking lasagna, and I hope it becomes a classic. It's such a good meal, such a hearty meal all the time. It can be served all by itself with just a few slices, angled, cut thin slices of garlic bread or even garlic breadsticks. It's such a hearty meal. There isn't no need to cook anything else with it. But you know, in Trinidad here we do things differently. We love our side dishes and whatnot. So you know, you can serve it like that also, of course, right? So I just want to show you guys the starter for it. And then of course I'm going to show you all, I'm going to walk you all through every step. You guys know I take the time and I go in depth and I show you all, because this is not just, my channel isn't just about me cooking to look fancy or anything like that. The purpose of it is to take all the intimidation of food by using easy cooking techniques and methods that anyone can understand. But having said that, I want to say don't let children cook. There's too much of dangers involved in the kitchen with the use of knives and hot liquids and so forth and so forth. Probably if you have teenagers but you want to supervise them at all times. So you all are going to see how it all comes together. As I said, it's just the starter. We are now getting warmed up, so to speak, with this lasagna, and we are I'm going to show you guys everything. I'm not going to leave out any particular part. I want you all to be able to do it, try it yourselves. For questions or comment below and I will reply in a timely manner, of course. So guys, this is the start for our beautiful lasagna, right? So this is how you want to start. 10 minutes max, and that's it. The Mueller's brand of pasta, it's readily available at any local supermarkets, right? Why do I use it? Because sometimes with these pastas there is different grade of the salmonella and things like that in it, right? We have different grades, and sometimes depending on the country that it is from, what happens is we don't have and the 100% durum wheat and so forth. We have different grades depending on the nation that it's produced in. So when I get the brands from Italy or the United States, it's always of a better texture. I have noticed, I'm not bringing on any brand, I have noticed it's always about better texture when I use the imported brands, right? That's all I'll say, right? You all know I am real with you all, right? So that's the purpose why I'm using it. As I said, it's readily available at any supermarket. So you all gonna watch step by step to see how it all comes together, right? We're just gonna keep watching, and you all, if you have to take notes, by all means do that. But you know my demos and videos are always readily available. If you want to view again, it's always there for your viewing purposes, right, guys? All right. So guys, this is where our lasagna pasta strips reach cooking wise, and this is the perfect time to get it off, because keep in mind I'm going to be putting some marinara liquids in there to cook it. So you don't want to cook too soft, you want mushy lasagna, you want to maintain its texture. So like here, about this stage is where it's perfect, right? See that? Because it's going to do some more cooking in the oven, right? And you could just walk here through all the steps. So about here is where you want to take it off, okay? So guys, I have some fresh chilled minced beef. This is the color you want minced beef to be when you are purchasing it, right? I spoke about previously in a previous demo about us always looking for the highest, freshest quality stuff. So if you're buying minced beef and it's already dark, like if it's cooked, don't get it, it's not good, right? This is what you want it to look like. Also, while I'm on that topic of the beef, minced beef is a salty meat, so always add less salt when you're cooking it. Preferably adjust it after it's cooked to be safe, right? So I have my full setup. This is some freshly blended seasoning that we have here, right? It's a blend of parsley. It's not the fat leaf parsley, it's a blend of parsley, right? Onions, a blend of parsley and onions, and that's it. You can put a garlic in here, feel free. This is some chili flakes or pepper flakes, red pepper flakes, freshly ground black pepper, freshly ground, not powdered and stuff. I just turned it to a few turns on my grinder to get it. Worcestershire sauce, some people would pronounce it different. Some Italian seasoning, some coarse sea salt. This is my marinara sauce, right? It's a blend, let me call the brand, it's Mazzetta. It's a Napa Valley homemade blend of 3 cheeses, which is Parmesan, Asiago, and Romano cheese, right? It's a blend that I love a lot. It's made with, of course, sweet tomatoes, a tomato, and so forth, and spices and the like, right? So we are going to start cooking our meat now for this demo. I'm going to just start by adding some extra virgin olive oil to my pot. Not too much, but the next thing with where I get my my beef is lean beef. I always get right? So we don't have a lot of oil being released once the meat is cooked, right? So I'm just going to add some seasoning. The pot is screaming hot. You see the smoke that is coming off as the extra virgin olive oil hit the pan, right? So I get the lean beef all the time. You guys know I am always about fresh ingredients and high quality ingredients. You all know that by now. Those of you that are familiar with me. To the new ones, if you didn't know, that's what I do. I make a fresh blend of seasoning for everything I'm cooking, and I really get the freshest, best produce and ingredients that there is for my cooking, right? Wow, we had a bit of a spillage. These things happen. I always tell you all I'm a real cook. These things happen, right? You want it to take on the flavor of this stage. In this pot you can get away pot side just using regular metal or steel spoon, because there's no scraping to be done really unless you are knocking it very violently, right? For the beef, I would say it's better to use like 3 pounds to be safe, because you don't want your beef running out. You don't want your beef running out while you are cooking, right? You don't want that happening at all while you are cooking. So start with 3 pounds. You can always find use for it in the future if you have any cooked remainders. But play it safe, please, and use your 3 pounds. I'm going to add some coarse sea salt, at this stage. Right? Not too much. Kind of measure that by looking at it. We spoke about beef being salty. One of the meats that is naturally salted. For some reason it is. I don't know. I'm going to add that freshly ground black pepper. I would say it's about a teaspoon of black pepper. Freshly ground black pepper. At this stage I'm going to add my Italian blend of seasonings. If you have, like, let's say for instance, if you have things like, but it's dehydrated Italian seasonings, of course. Dehydrated means dry. So if you have probably like basil and oregano alone home, go ahead and add that. If you can get some fresh rosemary, for some reason, if you might have a herb garden, you can add that fresh rosemary, chop it finely and add it in there. Right, so I'll say about 2 tablespoons of that dehydrated Italian blend of seasonings, right? Now the chili flakes, I'm going to put in the chili flakes. Just for a little bit of heat, not overkill, you just want the heat coming through there, right? That was about 2 teaspoons of chili flakes or pepper flakes. I have 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. Right, 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce. And at this stage I am going to add some of my, no water will be added in this please. If you have beef broth or stock, by all means you can feel free to add it to a vegetable stock on hand, but no water will be used. So I'm going to use, I will say, 2 cups of the sauce, tomato marinara sauce. You see it's really good stuff. You see how pale it is in that bright color. It's a nice color. It smells just lovely. And remember, we have the 3 cheeses in there, okay? So I'm going to add that is about what I now said there. 2 cups. So we put in no water in it whatsoever, so you know it's going to be some really good tasting meat. And for my fellow Trinidadians that you might be a bit worried at this stage or confused, how come Shamion season the meat directly in the pot? Trust me, it works. Don't even wonder about it until you tried it, right? It works. And remember, because minced beef or ground beef is fine, as in within the international world, they don't call it minced beef, they call it ground beef, right? Because it is fine, it cooks quickly, right? So don't worry about no water being in there. It's going to be lovely in taste because again no water was added. So we have this rich meat here going into our lasagna. Because remember, the pasta is bland, so whatever we do to the meat, the pasta is going to just pull, it's going to just draw all that meat, all that flavorings and sauces from the meat itself. So that's like our little thing to season up and flavor the pasta, right? Let it cook for, I will say at max 15 minutes, minimum 10 on a high stove, right? Don't go on a low stove. Don't add water. You see all the steps that I use. And I'll tell you something, don't add tomato ketchup either. Follow through. It's well worth you using high quality stuff. It is worth it. Things like lasagna and things, there is no improvising. Really, there isn't. If you have fresh tomatoes on hand, you want to dice and cube about 3 or 4, go ahead and add it. But do not use tomato ketchup in this whatsoever. Right? It's not going to do it any justice. So we're going to keep watching to see how it all comes together. You see where we reach so far, right? The color is just magnificent. Magnificent, sorry. I know you guys could tell how nice it's going to be. And the thing about that blend of mazzetta sauce is that there is whole pieces of tomatoes in there already. Right? Look at piece right there. You want to see it? Yeah. So you don't have to worry about that. That's why I only use high quality stuff, because I get what I pay for. Right? So let's keep watching as I bring this lovely lasagna together for you. So guys, this is like the final step to that lasagna demo. I am in the processor. I have 2 pounds of local cheddar. If you're vegetarian, you'll have to move to suit where the cheddar is concerned. Look for the vegetarian cheddar, of course. Right? I prefer cheddar because you all know I do things in a way that everybody could access the ingredients. If I go use some other cheese, you all might say, no, I can't get that cheese or whatever. So I want you all to know that it is safe to use the cheddar in here. This is about the equivalent to 3.5 cups of cheddar, right? And I'm just going to finish through this bit before we get fully into the demo, okay? Alright, so I showed you all the pasta texture already. Let me just go through it again with you all. This is what we have, right? It's still maintaining texture and all of that, right? The minced beef is cooked to, not to perfection, right? I have some cottage cheese. It's needed. It's much needed and necessary for the lasagna. So I have, this is some low-fat cottage cheese, right? For information, comment below. I will answer or reply in a timely manner. This is a marinara sauce, of course, and my dehydrated Italian herbs and some coarse sea salt. But at this stage, I won't be using any salt because I said before during the demo that how you season this sets the pace for how your overall taste of your lasagna is. So you want to always start by putting a bit of this. Let me spray first of all. If you are wondering why I use the extra virgin olive oil to start the minced beef, is because I'm keeping the flavor authentic. And really, lasagna is more or less an Italian thing. Right? Let us keep that in mind. So I'm even going to use non-stick organic extra virgin oil cooking. Extra virgin olive oil cooking spray. So I'm just going to spray my pan, my baking dish with that. Give it a good spray, especially coming up the sides, right? You don't want it to stick once the cheese starts to bubble and melt. Right? Then you have to put some, you always start by spreading some of your tomato sauce at the bottom. It's going to help too. This is the step I do. It's going to help. It's not going to be dry at the bottom. Right? You got that tip. You all got that, right? It won't be crispy at the bottom. Even though it's going to release some of the sauces below, just play it safe by doing that. Keep watching. It's going to go by quickly. I'm building a lasagna. Right? If you want to, sometimes I use my food safe scissors that is used only for the kitchen purpose, and I cut my my lasagna pasta if you're having a bit of an issue with it coming up here. I'm not going to do it today, okay? So that is 3 rows, 3 strips of the pasta at the bottom, right? I'm going to put some of the sauce, not too much. You don't want it to stay long to go in the oven. Once you put too much sauce, that's what's going to happen. I can guarantee that. Right? And then the meat is full, the ground beef or minced beef is full of a lot of lovely juice. There's no water that's used, right? Remember I told you all before you start building your lasagna to make sure you have sufficient beef, ground beef, or minced beef on hand. You don't want to realize when you start layering that there isn't enough. It's going to be not nice. Take it from me. It's always better to have your ingredients prepared versus not prepared. You have to stop building your lasagna to start to go to our next set of meat. That won't be smart, right? So everything I do here, I'm just going to repeat until everything is used up, especially my pasta. Everything you see me do here is going to be on high repeat until it is totally done. So at this stage, I'm going to add some of the cottage cheese, not too much of the cottage cheese though, right? Followed by some local cheddar. Followed by some local cheddar, followed by layering again. Just one layers and layers and layers and layers. That's the key. Just keep doing layers until we are all used up. Right? It's not hard to do, it's very easy. I don't want you all thinking anything is hard to do. And the prices these things go for is just ridiculous all by itself. If you want, it's optional at this stage. Use a bit of your dehydrated Italian herbs. It's going to give you some more intense flavor. What the cottage cheese does is it makes it super creamy. It really does. If you use it, if you make it with all the cottage cheese and you do it with it, you're going to realize you have a big difference in the texture of your lasagna. There is a method that people do the lasagna rolls, right? Following all the steps here, and they roll it up in this. They'll put the beef in here and roll it up and bake it versus making it into a pie like I'm doing. They also do skillet lasagna where they follow all these steps but they don't bake it, right? But this is not a demo about such, it is a demo of the classic, authentic lasagna. So we are not going there, right? Remember I was talking about this, you can always get your kitchen shears and just trim off that. Don't worry about things like that. It's not time for you to say, oh my gosh, I messed up. No. You see how easy? Trim it off. Trim off that excess. Using a kitchen safe scissors. You don't start to panic at this point. If you have your lasagna and it's broken up, for some reason you boiled it and it broke up, it's simple. Put it in the form to make the whole strips. Don't go saying I have to dump it and start over unless it's really mushy. Right? Come on, you guys know I keep it real with you all. So we're gonna do some sauce again. Remember, everything we did to one layer, we are going to do to the next layer, of course. Always keep your area that you are working with super clean. I happen to prefer to use kitchen safe wipes versus a J-cloth or a T-cloth or a kitchen towel in my kitchen. It helps a lot with the sanitization process of your kitchen being well run and maintained. You know, a kitchen is an area that a lot of bacteria lives. Why? Because we deal with so much raw poultry in our kitchen or meat, and they carry high amounts of bacteria once they are uncooked. So you want to sanitize your sink area and things like that a lot. Right? You're seeing I didn't add tomatoes. You all remember when I was cooking the meat, right? And this is what came inside my lovely tomato sauce. It's just brilliant. Sometimes I get the tomato sauce or the marinata that have the champagne in it. Sometimes there's a brand that I get that will have champagne in it. But this brand is a family run business, so it isn't too much of a big like factory scale. So I love this brand. I love this brand. So we're going again with some of the cottage cheese. Right? The cottage cheese just looks so good against this beef, the ground beef or minced beef. I'm not even kidding you, it just looks so marvelous. You don't have to put it like on the whole, like a layer, like I'm doing with the cheddar. Come on, no. These cheese are more of a creamy consistency versus the cheddar, and they that stand through. If you want, I'm not going to do it today. Some people make 3 cheese lasagna and so forth. You can add some Parmesan in there, grated parmesan, but I won't be doing that today, right? Just don't go berserk, because cheese is something that it contains oil and salt. Don't go berserk with too much of cheese. Say, no, it's going to be really cheesy. No, it's not. It's going to be really ridiculous. That's what you're going to end up having, a ridiculous lasagna, not a really cheesy lasagna. And I don't mean ridiculous in a good way, because sometimes ridiculous can be used if something is really, like, literally off the hook, off the charts. Right? You see where we came up to? This is using 1 box of lasagna. So I'm going to do that same thing. You are following me by now. You all should be able to tell me, without me hearing you all, what's going there now. What's going there now? Some of the dehydrated Italian seasonings. Everything we do to one layer, we're going to keep doing to the next. Just for depth of flavor, as I said, this is optional at this stage. We just want some really intense flavor coming through there, right? So we at it again. We're going to keep doing this until all is used up, until the dish is full, right? You're realizing that for every layer I'm using 3, right? For every layer, it's coming down to me using 3. Remember, I spoke just now on don't worry about it hanging over, and just use a scissors that you have reserved for kitchen use and purposes only, and trim it. So let's not worry about it hanging like that. I just said that, right? I don't want you all to panic about little insignificant stuff when it comes to the kitchen. I don't want you all doing that at all. Remember also, I spoke about if it is broken up, you're going to have to use wisdom and common sense and get it to I'm going to use an extra piece for this one, right? I could always trim it. You're going to have to use wisdom and common sense and get it to where it needs to be, shaping it back to where it should be. Don't panic and throw it out unless it's really mushy and you can't use it. So before I put on my other toppings, I'm going to just trim out the excess, because remember, this is the 1 layer that I use 4 and not 3, right? Because we had some exposed pieces of beef, ground beef or minced beef when I did this layer with only 3. So as we start to go up, we needed our next layer on my dish. I don't know what dish you all will use, but monitor things. Right? Just monitor it, and this is all the layers we will need. But pack it hard, and that is going to be ridiculous. So this is all the layering I'm going to need. Was it 3 layers, your count? Did we do 3 layers on my lasagna? You'll go back and watch and you all will see what I did. But your dish is going to, depending on the shape of your dish, is going to make you know how much you will need or should use, right? Just trimming off all the excess. As I go, every part of this is teaching you all. Every part. There isn't a part that I'm not teaching you all. I'm showing you how to. And really, the pasta doesn't pull away and shrink in the oven. I'm being real with you all also. So don't worry about why I'm trimming it. It doesn't pull away like that. I have experience with making lasagna. This is how I always do my lasagna. It is my recipe, my way. Right? So don't worry about it. If for some reason you can't access cottage cheese, use unflavored cream cheese in there. I love the Philadelphia brand. So the same consistency. The only thing is this is our more bead quality, right? This is our more bead quality, so I'm just showing you all. But the cream cheese it's going to be perfect because of that same texture, more or less, right? I just wanted to show you guys that. Because I know sometimes you might run into issues but you can't get exactly what I use. Again, comment and I'll answer. So what we did to the layers below, we are just doing to the layers now here also. It's kind of a costly pie, and it's a pie that needs a lot of ingredients. I think this may be the first time why I did that I use so much ingredients. Don't let your head spin. Just relax and watch what I did, and let's make it as simple as possible, right? Sometimes I can't get away from what's needed, and this is one of them. I had to follow through with all these steps. I couldn't, there is nothing else different that I could have done for you all. I already made it easy by using cheddar. So much of different things I spoke on, right? I told you all, if you can't get the Italian seasoning and you have oregano or basil, go ahead and use that along with some fresh rosemary if you can access that. I made it using a certain degree, right? So don't just follow through with the step. Don't use tomato ketchup in here, like whatsoever, right? So you want to layer with some of the beef again. Remember, we are following through with every step. The thing with the top layer is you're not going to cover it with pasta. That's the thing with the top layer, right? So you don't want to stack it too high with your meats. I don't cover my top layer with pasta, right? So you want to keep it really nice. So the top layer, you're going to see it nice. It's going to be like of a more pizza-ish consistency on the top. You don't want to stack it high because you run into problems when you are going to cut it, the top layer, okay? Don't close it up with the next sheet of layer of the lasagna pasta or strips, please. Right? Don't. I just love how this minced beef looks and smells. It's so good. No water was used to cook it. You all remember, right? I use absolutely no water. If you cannot get the Worcestershire or Worcestershire, as some persons will pronounce it, it's always a joke when people try pronouncing it. It really is. If you can't get that, you can skip that. But I would suggest that you follow through with it. You can't skip that, right? That's a step you can't skip. I just love the taste of it in it. So you see, you all saw, let me just clean up a bit of mess. You all saw how it went by, right? You all saw how much beef I have remaining, and that is wisdom in cooking, and we always want to play it safe that way. There is some beef remaining in my bowl. I'm going to show you guys. I have beef remaining. This is what you want. You don't want to be running out of anything when you are making a lasagna. So I have remainders of it. I'm going to refrigerate it immediately so I could use it in the future, that cooked beef. Alright, so your top layer, you could give a little more attention and so forth with the cottage cheese. Because remember, it is the end of your lasagna, of course. You end up making it. Alright, so you guys see, more or less it's just repeat. That's what it is. It's a pie. It's going to take patience to do. It wasn't long. I put it together in about 10 minutes. It was not something that was overly long and tedious to do. I would say somebody with intermediate skills or basic cooking skills can put this together following my demo. You don't have to be a pro cook to do this here that I did. All that nice tomato sauce is coming through from the layer at the bottom of our lasagna. It looks so good, my goodness. It smells even better than it looks. It looks good. Okay. So what did I say? The key is layering. Patience, layering, and using your food safe scissors that you will use in your kitchen to trim your ends of pasta as you go, right? This was one container, medium-sized container of low-fat cottage cheese. If you want to know, look for it. You should be able to find it at your supermarkets. Right? So I'm just going to put some of this Italian seasoning, followed by a final layer of the cheddar, and we are done. Something looks kind of, as I turned it, I'm seeing like a bit of an off balance. So it's good to angle your things different at time, right? So final layer of herbs, followed by my cheddar. You guys don't be alarmed, because remember, even here in Trinidad, the cheddar is always the top of our cheese, right? So there's no need, absolutely no need to close the lasagna up, because remember, the cheese is always at the top, right? Don't think, no, just trust me. A lot of you are already doing an event. watch it and go easy with the salt. I spoke about it. Go back and listen. I said that beef is somewhat salty naturally. And remember the cheese, the two cheeses. It's a two cheese lasagna, cottage cheese and local cheddar. Remember the cheeses, they are also fairly salty. Not over salty, but they are also fairly salty. So let's pay attention to that, right? Don't start cooking it with too much of salt when you are cooking it. We should not eat too much of any one particular thing, especially salt. It's dangerous on a lot of levels. I also have some tomato sauce remaining too. It's better you have remainders than you don't have enough. If you want to know how much tomato sauce I use including to cook it, that was about 6 cups because it's 2 huge bottles that I use. Right? But the size of the bottle I use, I will liken it to 3 cups. Remember, a cup, I'm not speaking drinking cups when I'm speaking. When you all hear me say cups, I'm speaking measuring cup, okay? If you don't know a measuring cup, I'll just give you this quick tip with that. Standard size teacup, what the Americans, my American friends will call a mug, is what is equivalent to 1 measuring cup. So that's the tip right there, right? I'm just gonna sprinkle just a very little bit of my thing on top of here. My dehydrated herbs, because I want to see it coming through once it is cooked, and I'm done. That's that. So guys, wasn't it easy? You all hardly heard me in this demo because there was a lot of focus going into the layering. It's one of the demos that I was a bit quiet in because I had to really focus. Let me put it up on my board for you all to see. It's one of the demo I did very little talking and there was a lot of focus. It's quite, let me just clean up a bit of cheese. It's quite heavy. It's quite a solid pie. Right? It's really solid. You just clean up and so forth. But yeah, it was easy. There's no intimidation there. I hope I took away the intimidation from it. I hope someone had always dreamt or thought about making their own lasagna. When they watch this demo, they are able to say, yes, now I understand. And even for those of you that might have failed in times one guy with making it, I hope you are able to see and try this method and have totally different results. Perfect lasagna using this demo. And remember, it's always up for your reference purposes. Feel free to share all these things, right? So the thing with it is at this stage we're going, it's completely done, right? You can put a bit of breadcrumbs on top of there if you like, right? Italian breadcrumbs, you all know I use Italian breadcrumbs, and also what it does, it pulls out the excess oils out of the pies, and then so you all see me use it time and time going by the Italian breadcrumb, not panko because it's a bit too coarse, right? Unless you want extra crunch, I would suggest you use the regular Italian breadcrumbs, right? It really helps to take away some of the oil and so forth, right? So just sprinkle on, don't go crazy with it. The thing with Italian breadcrumbs is it's seasoned a lot of times. So we're gonna get a nice crust when we are cutting it, and it's gonna, as I said, help with the oil. Right? So you don't go crazy with it. I'm just gonna put a bit more. I would like to add a bit more to a tablespoon, and that's it. thing with this is it's going to make mess. It's breadcrumb, so expect it to make mess. So there we have it, our brilliantly, perfectly executed 2 cheese ground beef or beef lasagna. Pleasure, as always, guys. It was my own. I just want to take the time out to thank you for all your love and support, for all your questions, comments, your viewing of this video, your sharing sometime on your social media. I want to take the time to thank you all. Right? There is nothing like when you have a goal and a passion and then it's well accepted and celebrated by others, including total strangers. It really gives you inspiration to go on. It motivates you in ways that is unimaginable when you have that support. Right? So, as always, guys, the pleasure is my own. You all know any questions or comments you have, just end with saying this also. Any questions or suggestions or anything you have for me that can add to what I do, because if I can't do something good, I won't do it at all. I don't attempt to do anything and I cannot do it properly. It wouldn't make sense because I would not be fully invested. I would invest myself fully into it. So if you have any questions, comments or suggestion, leave me a comment and I will reply in a timely manner. I guarantee that. You all know the business is all over social media. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, and I have an email address to the business, all under the name. We are also on YouTube because this is where the video will be viewed. We are all under the name Food by Shamion. Shamion, if it's the first time you are watching my video or demo, is my first name. Right? We also have an email address for the business, which is foodbyshamion@gmail.com. Right, guys, the pleasure was my own, right? And you all know, of course I will show you all the final product. You know, it was sounding like I was a bit about to conclude, but of course I must show you all the final product of that lasagna once it's baked to bone perfection and slicing of it. But you all know that cooking is a passion of my own, and anything I can do to assist anyone cooking wise or with any tips and tricks of my own, so to speak, I will. Of course I will. Right, guys? So you all are going to see it to the end, which is when it gets a lovely color and so forth. So we have just a couple of minutes before it's done. Baking a moderately hot waffle, right? I don't like to give time and temperatures for a lot of reasons. Two being, that depends on the make and model of your oven, right? I happen to use a stove that has AccuBake plus system in it, right? So that is our next thing. Some people use convection oven and so forth. So I really don't like to give time, but what I always suggest when you all are baking and even cooking is always to keep watching your oven. Don't just put anything in there and walk away. Always keep watching it. So keep monitoring it and see, because you will know how your oven behaves. Right, guys? So you all are going to see the order perfection that we have, right? Okay. So guys, we have reached the end of our lasagna demo. This is the color that we have. It's perfect. I'll just garnish it with some freshly chopped parsley, finely chopped parsley. Right? You all know I love to see garnish on food, so I'm going to slice it. The color is so gorgeous. It's baked to perfection. You see the bubble, that kind of reddish color you see coming through. It's the tomato sauce, of course, that I use, or the marinara sauce. It looks just lovely, lovely, lovely. Right? Allow it to cool down before you serve or cut it, right? So I'm just going to show you guys what it looks like on the inside, right? It took about 25 minutes to bake in my oven. Your own might be faster or a little bit slower depending on things, right? I'm just going to cut it. You always want to start to give you control by slicing anything that you bake down the sides at first, right? And try and for it to be as even as possible. That's always the goal. So you will have some persons having uneven slices and others having, you want everybody to have uniform. I'm going to do a poster for you all to see the cottage cheese just coming through on the center here. That's why I love to do it with the cottage cheese. That white stuff, you'll remember, is the cottage cheese. And it just gives it this really nice, creamy, comforting texture and taste. Right? So that's it coming through. I'm just running through every step in case you might be wondering. So if you bake it, the cottage cheese should look like that texture that it is here. Right? It should not maintain because it is a very moist cheese. It's almost like curds, right, of cheese. It's still warm. There's a lot of liquids in it. I can already tell. I'm seeing all that tomato, the sauce and the juices coming right through, right? This can be served alone, like I said at the start of the demo. Right? So I'm just going to plate it. I'm going to use, you all know I love white, right? So here is where you want to be very careful, right? It didn't come out in a clean cut. It's still very warm, right? So we should have like layers and layers of lasagna, but I'm going to get all the rest so that you all could see inside of the dish the layers that we should have. It's pretty warm still. I don't want you all to focus on the slice because the slice is a bit messy. Once you all see the texture on the inside, that is what my concern is, right? It's very warm and we have it quite a hot day in Trinidad, right? So I want you all to see what you should expect on the inside of your lasagna. You're going to see the sauces and the juices at the bottom of the baking tray. That is what I want you all to expect with your lasagna, right? So guys, from start to finish, that is what we have. When it cool down, the slices are going to be in perfect squares. That is what you should expect to have. It shouldn't be dry, it shouldn't be crispy or any such thing. If you're having that issue, something went wrong. And you will have to figure out what it is. Right? So you saw the texture that it is. Like I said, my slice is still pretty warm. So the presentation is not what I would want you all to expect when you are done doing it, right? You all seen all the lovely juices, everything coming through there again. Everything, and don't think it's too much liquids, right? That's just the way it should always be. It's going to refrigerate nicely also, right? If you get it from this angle, I'm going to do an extreme for you from my angle. You're going to see the layers of it and how it is. It's a flat part lasagna. We have all the layers coming through nicely and things like that. You see the height of it? Lasagna should never be flat. There's layers and layers of pie. Right? So start to finish, I cut for you all to see texture. Start to finish, you all see how it looks. It's pretty hot still, like I said. So it's not, you know, but that is what we look like. That is what you should have. Right? If you don't have that, I want to say again, if you don't have that, something went wrong. And you will need to figure out what you did wrong. Follow all my steps. Or it's for the reason that I asked you all to follow all my steps. Because like I always say, I don't want you all saying, you know, it did not come out like what it did. So that's why I explain things to every detail for you all to see. Right? I'm still going to show you guys a little shot of this slice. Keep in mind it's not a perfect slice, right? So it's somewhat flattened. So I'm still going to show you guys that, but it should be standing tall and we should be seeing layers and layers of that slice, right? But it's warm. As I said, we have an extremely hot day in Trinidad today. I really think that we are in high 30s today. It's that hot. It's really, really hot. And when you add bacon to that, you could imagine you heat it in the kitchen, right? Alright, so I'm just going to show you guys that shot of it now. Remember, it isn't where it needs to be. It's somewhat flattened. Lasagna should always stand tall with layers and layers of it. So you can't even see my layers on the plate because it is warm. I just keep saying that. So when you slice it, you want to make this like about 2 hours ahead of time because the heat and all that is taking time to cool down, of course. Right, so you want to make it, you are seeing how cottage cheese is coming through just perfectly there, right? So you want to make it about 2 hours ahead of time before you serve it to get a chance to cool right down. Even if you're having a cool day, right? Unless you live in the US, cooling down would not be a factor at all. And it's winter, you won't have a problem with it cooling down. It will go by quickly cooling down. Right? So guys, the business, it's on YouTube. Of course, this is where all the videos pass through before I hit any other social media. We are on Facebook, right? And we are on Instagram, all under the name Food by Shani. If you want to come into contact with me, my email address for the business is foodbyshanion, CHANION, or common letters at gmail.com. Guys, it was my pleasure. Until I meet you again, bye.